नमस्कार साथियों, स्वागत है आप सभी का हमारे इस चैनल सुयू सून पर। और ये जो दौर से हम गुजर रहे हैं, देश गुजर रहा है इस कोरोना की सुनामी से, तो आशा करते हैं कि आप सब स्वस्थ होंगे और अपने अपने परिजनों को, दोस्तों को, दफ्तर वालों को उनकी खैर पूछ रहे होंगे। इस दौर में हमारी ये कोशिश रहती है इस छोटी सी मुहिम के जरिए कि कम से कम थोड़ी सी सकारात्मकता बढ़ाएं और देश और दुनिया से जो प्रभावी चेहरे हैं लीगल जगत के और बाकी हमारे समाज के, उनको आप तक लाके उजागर करें, उनकी जीवनी के बारे में आपको दर्शाएं, उनकी जो जीवन की कहानी रही है, संघर्ष रहे हैं, चुनौतियां रही हैं, आप तो रखें और कुछ समाज में बदलाव लाने की कोशिश करें। आज हमारी इसी मुहिम से जुड़े हुए हैं भारत के एक प्रसिद्ध वकील श्री सचित जौली जी। सचित और मेरा संबंध तकरीबन 20 सालों से है। हम लोग, मैं बता दूं, डिस्क्लोजर फुल रहना चाहिए हमारे प्रोग्राम में कि हमारी पढ़ाई साथ में हुई। लेकिन आज सचित एक बहुत बड़ी फर्म है डीएमडी एडवोकेट्स, पहले जिसका नाम था दत्त मोनन एंड डनबॉसेट, अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ी फर्म मानी जाती है देश की। और वहाँ पे सचित बतौर पार्टनर कार्यरत है और टैक्स की और बाकी कमर्शियल डिस्प्यूट्स की प्रैक्टिस को हेड करते हैं। सचित, बहुत बहुत स्वागत आपका हमारे प्रोग्राम में। और सवाल जवाब का सिलसिला शुरू करने से पहले हमारा एक औपचारिक सवाल अपने मेहमानों से ये रहता है कि एक तो अपने जीवन के बारे में, शुरुआती जीवन के बारे में हमें बताएं, आपकी पढ़ाई कहाँ हुई और वो कौन सा लम्हा रहा या वो कौन सी चीजें नहीं आपके जीवन में जहां आपने वकालत करने की ठानी और सोचा कि अब मुझे वकील बन जाना चाहिए।
Jayant, first question, can I use English language? I'm not as
यस,
proficient as you in Hindi.
हम लोग वी कैन यूज इंग्लिश, हिंदी, व्हाटएवर यू आर कन्वीनियंट।
Okay. तो मेरा जन्म दिल्ली का ही है. I was born on 25th April 1984. I've been in Delhi for almost my entire life and did my schooling from Don Bosco. Did my law right after that from Amity Law School, where you and I met, and we have maintained our good friendship over the past 20 years. After graduating from Amity Law School, I started my practice with Vaish Associates, which is a leading tax law firm. और उसके बाद at after 4 years of practice at Vaish, मुझे मौका मिला वैश मुंबई जाने का, उनके मुंबई ऑफिस में, where I was asked to set up the practice for direct tax in Mumbai. After setting up the practice of over a period of 1 year,
उस पर
from
भी सचित आएंगे,
2011.
लेकिन उससे पहले हमेशा आपकी थोड़ी सी जर्नी जान लें कि वकालत करने की आपने कैसे ठानी। उसके बाद एक एक करके फिर आपके जितने जीवन काल के चरण है उस पर वन बाय वन विल गो जी।
Well, ये बहुत ही थोड़ा हार. I would say it's a coincidence that I'm a lawyer. Although my father was a lawyer, but I had no intentions of doing law. I was a science student in school with computer science. All throughout, I wanted to be an architect. Unfortunately, when we passed out from school in 2002, the School of Planning and Architecture in Delhi changed its rules and said we will not take students through a direct examination, but हम students सिर्फ लेंगे who have filed and taken the AIEEE exam. I, of course, had no interest in engineering, so I never took the AIEEE exam. So come March, when the forms for School of Planning and Architecture had to come, I had nothing to do.
जी।
My results came. My elder brother was already in Amity Law School. My father, as I said, was a lawyer. And my father said, no point sitting at home. You do something at least for a year. And then, side by side, study for AIEEE and do, take the exam and then go to school and learn planning of architecture. So I took up the exam. Fortunately, I thought it was pretty easy, but somebody like me could clear it at one go. And here I was at Amity Law School. And then, as they say, there was no looking back. So with no accountancy background, with no legal insight in that sense, I ended up doing law. And then from that to be a tax lawyer was quite a journey.
बड़े सुंदरता से आपने बताया कि कैसे आप डेस्टिनी, मेरे ख्याल से मैं कहूँगा, अगर मैं डेस्टिनी को काफी मानता हूँ कि डेस्टिनी चाहती थी कि आप लीगल जगत में आए और आज अपने बड़े बड़े टैक्स के केसेस करते हैं, आपने महारत हासिल की है हमारे इस लीगल जगत में, तो अगर आप आर्किटेक्ट बन जाते तो मैं समझता हूँ कि लीगल इंडस्ट्री कहीं ना कहीं वंचित रह जाती इस बेनिफिट से जो आज उसको मिल रहा है आपके यहाँ पे हमारे साथ होने से। तो सच्ची जब आ जाते हैं उन 5 सालों में, जब आप एमिटी में थे, आपने लॉ किया, तो क्योंकि हमारे जो बहुत दर्शक हैं, यंग लॉ स्टूडेंट्स हैं, यंग लॉयर्स हैं, और दे ऑलवेज ड्रॉ इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम पर्सनालिटीज लाइक यू। तो आपसे मैं पूछना चाहूंगा कि वो 5 साल में आपका इंटर्नशिप एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा, कहाँ कहाँ आपने इंटर्नशिप की, और क्या कोई मेथड था, क्या कोई ऐसा कोई मैकेनिज्म था उस टाइम एज अ यंग लॉ स्टूडेंट कि मेरे को यही इंटर्नशिप करनी है, और हाउ टू गो अबाउट चूजिंग योर इंटर्नशिप, और साथ ही में बिकॉज यू आर ऑल्सो वेरी एविड मूटर, तो मूटिंग का क्या रोल रहा आपकी लाइफ में, इन दोनों बातों की जरा हमें व्याख्या करें।
देखिए, एज अ स्टूडेंट आई बिलीव्ड एंड आई स्टिल बिलीव दैट आपको जो कहावत है हिंदी की, घाट घाट का पानी पीना चाहिए. Don't close your options very early. I think a lot of students make that mistake. I did my internship with Shri Ramesh Gupta, who's a criminal lawyer. I did my internship as a law student with Justice Sanjeev Khanna, who was then a judge sitting in the company court. I did my internship in Singapore with a law firm doing construction law in Singapore, which had nothing to do with Indian practice. I also interned with my own father for income tax government side practice. And that's when I got a little bit of inkling towards tax. Then I also did an internship with Shri M.S. Syali, who's a very well-known senior advocate in the income tax practice. I also did internship with Shri Gopal Subramaniam for about 6 months, who was then the additional Solicitor General of India. And the idea was to pick up all branches of law, look at all branches of law, and then take a decision. One thing, of course, I was always clear, I never wanted to do corporate law. So I never ventured into corporate firms for, those transactional internships. I never did that. And I was always clear, if I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted to be in court. So if you have that kind of clarity, then it's fine. But otherwise, I would still recommend, and having been in practice, I can still recommend, please do a couple of corporate internships also. It gives you a perspective how deals are done. It gives you a perspective how transactions are run. I think that entire experience is helpful. And therefore, that which I started with, ghat ghat ka pani peena zaruri hai. You must try everything, including government internships. If you get with the Lok Sabha, any member of parliament, drafting of legislation, I think all that must be taken. There's those they're helpful in whichever way. In fact, my experience as a science student today helps me in a lot of matters. So therefore, I would say any kind of experience is very good. That's my take on the internship platform. On mooting, yes, you shed inhibitions when you do mooting. वो झिझक खत्म हो जाती है जब आप mooting करते हैं. I had the opportunity of going to the Nani Palkiwala moot for our university, for college, which is a very rare moot court, which happens in the income tax tribunal, and which is judged right from the preliminary rounds by judges of the income tax tribunal. So you had specialist judges questioning you on specialist issues. And I think that kind of, once I could pass that muster, the transition to court was not that difficult. I felt, at least the tax tribunal I have been to, and I have stood up there and argued. I don't see a problem in real life also. So, that was very, a very good experience. One more thing which I learned from a moot court, and I think that everybody should look at, is how to get along in a team. No mooter can be successful if he doesn't know how to work in a team. And egos have to give way. You can't claim to know everything. You must read everything. We often call, when I started mooting, some of our seniors told us that researchers are basically people who are going for a free party. I don't believe that. I think a lot of the moots that we were successful in, the researchers did a phenomenal job, and even on the spot. We didn't have those mobile phones at that point of time, which had internet access, and you could download or anything. So a lot of book reading went into it, and I think the contribution which was made by a lot of researchers who worked with us was exceptional, if not more than us, because we did the good job of so-called or the limelight job. But I think if you are able to be receptive, you absorb everything, it helps a lot.
बड़ी अच्छी बात रखी सचित आपने दो तीन की। ऐसा माना जाता है क्योंकि जब हम यंग होते हैं तो कहते हैं लड़कपन रहता है उस वक्त, और टीम अगर आपकी आप ही की क्लास है तो ठीक है, अगर आपके दोस्त यार हैं तो शायद एक तरह की बॉन्डिंग रहती है। लेकिन जो रिसर्चर टर्म है, मैं समझता हूँ कई मुझको टीम में रिसर्चर्स को थोड़ा कम तवज्जो देते हैं, वो सही नहीं है। आपने बहुत ही अच्छी बात रखी यंग लॉयर्स के लिए हमारे लिए कि हर मेंबर जो है टीम का, मतलब आपको टीम प्लेयर बनना है, क्योंकि आप बकायदा एक टीम अपने कॉलेज को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, वहां पे जाते हैं, यू हैव टू आर्ग्यू। और आपने सही बताया उस टाइम तो मुझे याद है 2002 में ये नोकिया मोटोरोला के नए फोन आने शुरू हुए थे, उसमें स्नेक का गेम हुआ करता था। 4G 3G was not heard of at that point in time, so you really had to rely on your acumen, on your craft and the ability to think on feet. तो वो जो आज मैं समझता हूँ बच्चों के पास काफी हद तक अवेलेबल है कि अगर रिसर्च कुछ करना भी फटाफट, शायद आई डोंट नो कि कितने मूड कोर्ट सब अलाउ करते हैं फटाफट रिसर्च करना। और जो कुछ मैंने कोरोना के टाइम पे मूड जज किए हैं, तो मैं समझता हूँ कि जो अगर आप वाईफाई के थ्रू मूड कर रहे हैं या वर्चुअल मूड कर रहे हैं, यू कैन स्टिल ओपन एक गूगल का रेफरेंस या गूगल पेज आपके साइड में खुला हो सकता है, रिसर्च कैन बी स्पॉट ऑन। फटाफट कोई जैसे आपसे पूछ रहा है तो आपका रिसर्चर आपको व्हाट्सएप पे पिंग कर दे, आपके ये आ जाए। तो ये सारी जो सुविधाएं हैं मैं समझता हूँ हम लोग के टाइम पे एकदम नहीं थी, और कुछ उसके मैं फायदे ही समझूंगा कि इट गिव अस दैट एबिलिटी टू बी अ लिटिल मोर वेल रिसर्च्ड एंड वेल थॉट आउट विद आवर मेमोरियल्स, और वहां जाके बहस करना। एक सवाल इससे और करना चाहूंगा। आपने बताया अपने फादर साहब के बारे में, और मैं दर्शकों को बता दूं कि स्वर्गीय जॉली साहब की गिनती दिल्ली और देश के उन चुनिंदा टैक्स के वकीलों में से होती थी जहां मुझे लगता है कुछ ना कुछ प्रभाव सचित पे भी आया। और उन्होंने बताया कि एक उन्होंने इंटर्नशिप की अपने फादर साहब के साथ, जहां से उनको लगा कि टैक्स की तरफ उनको अपना जो रुझान है, जो एक रुचि है, वो बढ़ानी चाहिए। तो थोड़ा सा उस जर्नी के बारे में सचित आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि फादर साहब का आपके जीवन में टैक्स को लेके, और एक वकील जो टैक्स करना चाहता है उसके बारे में क्या प्रभाव रहा, क्योंकि आपने बताया कि वो गवर्नमेंट भी काफी रिप्रेजेंट करते थे गवर्नमेंट को, और आज आप इतने गवर्नमेंट के अगेंस्ट भी जाते हैं। तो हाउ इज दैट फेज, बिकॉज कमिंग फ्रॉम अ फैमिली ऑफ लॉयर्स आई वुड से, and representing the government and then going against the government, how is that experience?
Well, Jayant, I think if there is one person who had the singular most biggest influence on my career without actually telling me what to do, was my father. Actually, he never wanted me to be a lawyer, like I discussed earlier, that his thought was you should not sit idle for a year. That's all he wanted, but he never wanted me to be a lawyer. In fact, he never wanted me to stay in India. And now I think he was wise enough at that period to realize that, looking at the situation on ground today with what is happening, I think all that thought has crossed everybody's mind today, that what are we doing actually here? Even if you become the biggest lawyer or the judge in a country and you can't manage an oxygen bed, I don't know what is it worth then. So I think he had, it's just his success as a first generation lawyer, the aura that he commanded in the court and the respect that he commanded in the court was more, I think, influential in me taking up the profession, even though inadvertently, I would say. But he never told me that, I would want you to become a lawyer, or I want you to become a doctor or something. I think in our family, we never had that kind of pressure from either my father, my mother, or my grandfather, who was there till I joined the profession. In fact, my grandfather was a professor of political science in the Delhi University. So he had a very open vision. He said, you have to be happy with what you're doing. You can't take up a profession which you struggle later on and you don't enjoy. So, I think I would say that without pushing me, it's just the kind of hard work that he had put in, which built his reputation, his aura, his respect that he developed, that kind of pushed me to it. And now I realize how hard he would have had to work. Even with the surname that I carry now, it's not easy. You have to turn in every day. You have to perform every day. There are no slippages allowed. But for him, when he was a first generation lawyer with very little, we had a very humble background when my father started his practice. So, I think I would give it to his hard work and the respect that he built as the founding stones for shaping my career as a lawyer, as a tax lawyer. And I think I must also give some bit of, I should acknowledge the stint I had with Mr. Siali as an intern. He was, and it's strange, he and my dad were one of the closest friends. And they would always appear against each other. They would fight like cats and dogs in the court. And then they would be sitting and having a samosa in the canteen. And I think that's when I realized that, even if I'm on the other side, it won't matter.
I think that's
So
wonderful.
I think that, yeah. And, the kind of time Mr. Siali took to train me, I owe it to him. And so also, the stint with my stint in the Singapore law firm Tan Kwok Wan, whose partner I'm still in touch with, or for that matter, Mr. Ramesh Gupta, Mr. Gopal Subramaniam. I think I didn't do a single matter of tax because I was an intern then, but I used to prepare briefs on all issues across the globe, including formulating an education policy. So I really, if I start thanking people for who shaped and why I should be a lawyer and how I should start, there's a lot. And I have to also thank a lot of people who in the profession also, once I joined, helped me. And I think once we come to that stage, I'll address that.
Yeah, I think a wonderful narrative, because many times we forget how beautiful the profession is, that it binds all of us with a invisible thread. But as the old saying goes, that lawyers may fight at the bar, but they always break the bread together. आपने बड़ी अच्छी बात बताई कि जितना लड़ने ऑपोजिट साइड हो कुछ हो, तो देखिए प्रोफेशन है, क्लाइंट को रिप्रेजेंट करना होता है, एंड पर साथ में समोसे चाय साथ ही में होती है, कैंटीन में जब जाते हैं केस डिस्कशन होते हैं, वहाँ पे बैठे बैठे के बाद स्टूडेंट्स इवॉल्व कर जाती है। ये लोग नहीं समझते इस बात को, जो यंग लॉयर हैं, यंग बच्चे हैं। ये बात जैसे कि सचित ने आपके सामने रखी कि आप लड़े अपने दोस्त से, कोर्ट में हक है आपका, पर वो लड़ाई ऐसी होनी चाहिए कि सम्मानजनक होनी चाहिए। यू कैन नॉट डिसरिस्पेक्ट आइदर द कोर्ट और योर ऑपोजिशन। ये एक आई थिंक समथिंग दैट वी हैव टू लर्न। सचित, आपने बड़ी अच्छी बात कही। आपने बताया इतने सारे मेंटर्स रहे आपके, जिनसे आपने बहुत सारी चीजें सीखी अलग अलग इंटर्नशिप्स में, और आज आप एक पार्टनर हैं, आप हेड करते हैं अपनी फर्म को। और ये जो मेरा सवाल है, बिकॉज यंग लॉयर्स की तरफ ज्यादा ये टारगेट रहता है कि मेंटरशिप का कितना अहम रोल होता है एक यंग लॉयर या एक यंग इंटर्न की लाइफ में टू शेप देयर करियर। बिकॉज व्हाई आई एम आस्किंग यू दिस इज, कई बार बच्चे बड़े कंफ्यूज रहते हैं। 5 साल का कोर्स है, 3 साल का कोर्स है, मल्टीपल इंटर्नशिप्स कर रहे हैं, इवन समटाइम्स इट हैपेंस कि 4th या 5th ईयर तक आते आते ये नहीं पता चल पाता कि यार क्या करें, अब ग्रेजुएशन आने वाली है, मास्टर्स करें या फर्म ज्वाइन करें या वो करें। तो वो क्लैरिटी कहाँ से लाएं? ट्रायल एंड एरर होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए, या एक मोर स्ट्रीमलाइन अप्रोच होनी चाहिए? और जो मेंटर्स हैं, और क्योंकि आज आप एक मेंटर की भी भूमिका निभाते हैं बिसाइड्स बीइंग अ पार्टनर, तो एक मेंटरशिप का कितना अहम रोल है टू ग्रूम अ यंग लॉ स्टूडेंट?
I think it's extremely important. And that's why, let me thank some of my mentors who shaped me, and then I'll tell you what a mentorship can do. When I started my practice at Vesh, I was, whatever little I knew about tax, I thought I knew a lot, but nobody in the firm tried to tell me that what I knew was wrong or what I knew was incomplete. I was encouraged. Wherever I went wrong, I was told where I was wrong. I was not admonished. I think that's very important. I was told where I'm wrong, and I was told for about 2 or 3 times. And that's the same thing I don't know whether I'm able to effectuate that in practice or not till now, but that's my endeavor, that if somebody goes wrong, I tell them 1, 2, 3, 4 times that, son, this is where you have gone wrong, and this is what you need to correct. If people still don't correct, I think then there is a problem. Because especially in a law firm, I'll tell you, the pressures are enormous. There is competition from outside and within inside. So I think young students must understand the perspective of a mentor also. A mentor has to give the the child or the student or a young lawyer the leeway of making at least 3, 4, 5 mistakes. Everybody, we still make mistakes. Question is, does he repeat the same mistake again? If he does, another opportunity. If he does, another opportunity. But beyond that, I think people also need to realize that there is cutthroat competition today. A mentor or a senior will not have that patience to bear with people if they continue to make the same mistake again. Now, if it's a different scenario which you've never been and you error somewhere, it's fine. It does happen. And as a mentor today, to certain people, what I look at is that you may go wrong on law. You are not supposed to know law. It is my duty to teach you law. You don't know law. That's how I start with. But you must know your facts, whether it's a judicial case or whether it's a transaction. You have to know your facts. If you do not master your facts, and that's not rocket science, then you will be in trouble. And this is advice to everybody, that don't start jumping on case laws and internet research and etc. Case laws can be distinguished any day, any time. Do not look for propositions even when you're doing a transaction and you have to take a particular position. Do not get stuck on case laws. Look at how the transaction has unfolded. You may be able to distinguish the entire jurisprudence on that subject if your factual position is different. So therefore, I have always maintained for all juniors, interns, and people who come to me for advice, that muster your facts first. Prepare something like a list of dates, a list of transactions, what has happened. Jot it down on a piece of paper. These internet, these notes on the computer can be done later on. If you put it down on a diary or a notepad that you maintain, it's going to hold you in good stead even 20 years down the line, that this is a transaction I did, this is a matter I did, this is the kind of research I did. And that is your personal intellectual property that remains with you. So I think my advice has always been that as students, you tend to jump to law first. You will get to law. You will know law ultimately. You will reach. And I have seen even people like the great Mr. Harish Salve, whom I brief a lot in matters. He also takes time to go through the orders, the facts, and then he says, show me the law. He doesn't start with show me the law and then go in a reverse direction. So I think that idea should be inculcated right from the start, that as juniors, as students, as lawyers, you may not know the law and you're not supposed to know the entire law. Please don't start with that. Start with the facts. I think 90% of the problems of that we face today as mentors or as students will vanish if that simple funda is followed.
अच्छा होता है जितना आपने कि प्रिसिजन भी होना चाहिए और फैक्चुअल क्लैरिटी भी होनी चाहिए। एंड आपने साल्वे साहब का इतना अच्छा उदाहरण दिया दैट डोंट जंप इनटू द लॉ। आपको अगर चीजें ही नहीं पता, कहानी नहीं पता केस की, तो आप क्या ब्रीफ करेंगे सीनियर को, और अपने मेंटर को भी हो सकता है आप तंग करें। और मेंटर की भी एक सीमा होती है कि एक बार आपकी गलती माफ करें, 2 बार माफ करें, पर बार बार माफ करना थोड़ा सा कठिन हो जाता है, क्योंकि लॉ फॉर्म में कटथ्रोट कॉम्पिटिशन की आपने बड़ी अच्छी बात बताई। उसके साथ ही क्लाइंट एक्सपेक्टेशंस भी होती हैं, क्योंकि यू आर ऑब्वियसली बिलिंग योर क्लाइंट्स एंड देयर इज अ रीजनेबल एक्सपेक्टेशन अटैच्ड विद द क्लाइंट अटॉर्नी रिलेशनशिप की आप उनको सही एडवाइस दें। और अगर मशवरा किसी मेंटी की तरफ से गलत आता है, या कोई बच्चा है या कोई यंग लॉयर है, आपको गलत एडवाइस या गलत केस लॉ दे दे बिना फैक्ट को समझे, तो बड़ी परेशानी की बात हो सकती है, जाहिर सी बात है। तो आइए अब आपकी लीगल जर्नी पे आते हैं। अब आपने अपना करियर शुरू किया।
Jayant, I wanted to add one more aspect to that.
Please.
Look, as a mentor, I would like juniors and students and young lawyers to be in a position where I am. But if I can't trust that person because he continues to make the same mistake over again, it then becomes difficult for somebody to trust. And that's a human issue. That is nothing to do with lawyer. That's in any profession. So if you want to win the trust of somebody and want to, and then that senior can just pass on the work to you for you to execute. See, look at this. If I today feel comfortable with A, B, and C, that if I give them the work, they will not mess up, and I'll close my eyes, I'll just take the draft, sign and give it, pass it on. It gives them confidence. And it helps them to prosper. So I think if you are able to muster that trust which you can build, I think it goes a long way.
I think very, very nicely pointed out, Sajid. I'll tell you why. Because this doesn't only apply to a law firm or a chamber structure, it also percolates to how we practice in court. Because court may, if a judge knows you as a decent and a diligent lawyer who will not take court, for a spin, then even sometimes when you, let's say you don't have a file, your clerk may be stuck somewhere or your staff may be stuck somewhere, and you have to put a point across. And if you've already read the file, and based on a memory, if you want to, assess the honorable court, then if the judges are aware of your goodwill, the same principle apply. The trust is there, that the bonding, the trust जो होता है वो हमेशा रहता है. So be it a judge or a lawyer ratio or a mentor-mentee ratio, I think the principle आपने बताया human scenario के, very, very spot on. I must say that the young viewers must benefit from this anecdote that Sachit has just wonderfully shared with us. Sachit, अब next पड़ाव में आते हैं आपके, जब आपने law school graduate कर लिया है, अब आप एक young lawyer हैं. And I think you started your career with Vaish Associate, again a very, very big and a known firm in the country. तो direct tax से मेरे ख्याल से आपने शुरुआत की वहाँ पे अपनी, उस जर्नी के बारे में प्लीज हमें बताएं थोड़ा सा, क्योंकि इसलिए भी पूछ रहा हूँ क्योंकि जो टैक्स एज अ सब्जेक्ट है थोड़ा सा ड्राई और कॉम्प्लेक्स दोनों का मिक्स हो जाता है इसमें, तो लोग थोड़ा घबराते भी हैं, बट ये भूल जाते हैं कि टैक्स सबसे ज्यादा वाइड स्प्रेड एक टॉपिक है कि हर इंसान को टैक्स देना है. डेथ एंड टैक्सेस इज समथिंग यू कांट अवॉइड. पूरा एक्ट है. तो मैं एक बात और बताना चाहूंगा बिफोर सचित स्टार्ट्स गिविंग अस हिज नगेट्स ऑफ विजडम, कि जो इन्होंने टैक्स दिखाया इसकी मारस सचित को लॉ स्कूल से थी, और ऑल ऑफ अस वर इन ऑ ऑफ हिम, बिकॉज टैक्स की जो पूरी नॉलेज होती थी और जो सचित के सवाल भी आते थे हमारे प्रोफेसर्स के लिए, दे वर रियली आउट ऑफ द बुक सवाल, और आज भी मेरे ख्याल से उस जूरिस्प्रूडेंस को सचित अपने आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं. सचित आते हैं अब आप पे वैश की जर्नी पे शुरू करते हैं.
One thing which you said, Jayant, is very important. The subject in its own may be very dry. So you have to really love the subject to be practicing it. It's not a subject where you can practice just to make money. You will never be able to do that. You will have to love the subject. You'll have to so-called fall in love with the Income Tax Act and the allied laws to practice it. In fact, I remember my wife still cribs about it, who's herself a lawyer, that on one Valentine's Day, I gifted her a book of income tax, which I had written for an international journal. So I think you really have to be in love with the subject. Otherwise, you can't practice income tax. Long story short. And I think that journey began with, as I said, with my father, Mr. Siali, then, kind of helped me grow with it. And when I joined Vaish Associates, a little bit of credit before that was that I was doing my 6-month internship with Mr. Gopal Subramaniam. He saw that I was proficient with tax. I could also do other subjects, but he saw my inclination at that point in time was with tax. And he also felt, and in his great wisdom, these great people have great wisdom. He said, if you start your practice with me as a Supreme Court lawyer, you will never get anything to draft. Most of the briefs will come prepared to us. There'll be at least, and he was the additional Solicitor General then, you will have at least revenue commissioners coming and briefing me. So really your role will be very less. You will not be able to grow in that sense. So he told me to go to a firm where I could do right from what you call grassroots work, assessments, commissioner appeals, tribunals, high court, Supreme Court, everything. So that's where I landed up with Vaish, and Mr. Ajay Vora, who was then the managing partner, now a senior advocate, was gracious enough to have me in his firm. I had the privilege of also working with late Shri O.P. Vaish, who was the founder for some time before he passed away. But he was, his perspectives were unbelievable. He saw things in a very different light than all of us, even today. Then I had my immediate senior, Mr. Rupesh Jain. I think if there is probably the best mentor anybody could have. He was so patient. He would sit down when he would correct the draft. He would just not correct the draft and send it to the client. He would correct the draft with his hand. Each draft that I prepared, I gave him a print. He would to correct. He would add what was wrong. He would, give kudos for what was right. He would encourage a style of drafting. He would discourage a style of drafting. And then he would give me back the draft It's not that he would just correct and send it to the client. No, he would give it back to me. He thought that's the only way I could learn. And I think that singular piece of mentorship with me, and he was very patient. There were times when I completely messed up. I would send an appeal which is to be filed in Delhi with contact details of a commissioner in Dehradun. He would still cover that up. In fact, he would cover up with the client for that. So I owe a lot to his mentorship and the kind of patience he showed with me. And this is exactly what I was alluding to, that he allowed me to make mistakes. But if the mistake was repeated, he then told me that this is your second. He had a note. He said, this is your second. I would want you to improve. So that I learned a lot from him on how to grow, on where I was making mistakes. And I also took it in a good spirit. I also had geniuses in my office, apart from Mr. Rupesh Jain. Just I got there's always a hierarchy in the firm. So there's a managing partner, junior. But Mr. Vora was also kind enough to allow me to brief him directly, not through another partner or not through another senior associate. There were other senior associates, Mr. Rohit Jain, Gaurav Jain, Neeraj Jain, all of them helped me in that sense to grow. Even when I went to Mumbai after my 4 years in Delhi Vesh to set up the practice there, Mr. Bomi Daruwala was the partner and the head of Bombay practice there. Himself a chartered accountant, he let me in front. He could have easily said, I'm the boss, I will take over and you just support me. But no, that didn't happen. He really let me out. He let me go to clients directly. He let me meet clients directly, give my advice directly. And again, let me make my own mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And I think that is something which was always helped me grow. So by the time I was 5 years into practice, which is a baby in practice, I was heading a tax practice of one of the top law firms in the country. I think that encouragement, that confidence which I got. In fact, even when I was leaving, I remember Mr. Vesh called me up, late Mr. O.P. Vesh, and said, although you are leaving now, and I think you have better reasons for leaving us, I will try and make an offer sometime to you which you can never refuse. Unfortunately, he passed away some years down the line, and that remained with him. But I think really the confidence, even at the exit which he gave me, that I was still wanted or still required in the firm, was phenomenal. And I think I owe a lot to them. And the same thing continued over here. When I joined at DMD in 2012, I was given a free hand to run the direct tax practice, although I never had the tag of the partner till 2017. But I was never made to feel like a junior. I think I owe that to Miss Anuradha Dutt in the office, that she never felt that I was any junior or inferior person in the office. I was made to choose my own team, to work with whoever I wanted to work with, to grow the practice together. And even with the firm pressures of economics here and there, she knew that my ultimate aim was to get a designation, and still is to get a designation from the Delhi High Court. So she encouraged that. She said, take up matters as many as you can. Don't worry about the fees. I think I've touched wood. I've been blessed with some great mentors, some great seniors who have pushed me. Even now, for that matter, just the fact that I'm able to do a lot of these big clients without engaging a senior counsel and doing my own bit, arguing my own bit, speaks a lot about the confidence that my seniors have given me, including designated seniors. I would want to name some of them who've had a great role to play in my career, like Mr. Balbir Singh, who's now an ASG. I think you can't get a more encouraging senior. If somebody gets a chance to work with him, you should. I think he makes a career out of any average lawyer like me. You have Mr. Salve, of course, I don't have words to say about him, but he's the kind of encouragement he gives you, and the pat on the back that we get from him is worth a million. I've also had the opportunity of working with Mr. Parag Tripathi, Mr. Neeraj Kishan Kaul, Mukul Roth, Mr. Rothki, Mr. Datar, and I think a lot of us need to learn from people like Mr. Datar. I was recently writing an article for the British Tax Review. I must share this story. He took pains of going through a 15-page article and editing it for me. These are things which which make you feel that there are great people in this profession who are willing to help and go all the way.
बड़ी अच्छी आपने बात बताई, इतने सारे लोग हैं प्रोफेशन में, डायरेक्ट एंड इनडायरेक्ट मेंटरशिप्स मिलती रहती है हम लोग को अलग अलग पड़ाव पे अपने करियर के। एक बात आपने और बताई, जब आप वैश के दफ्तर में थे और यू हैड गॉन टू बॉम्बे फॉर 1 year, एंड आपने दालवाला साहब के जिक्र किया और दैट ही वाज अ अकम्प्लिश्ड सीए, और शुरू में जब हमने ये सेशन शुरू किया तो आपने बताया दैट फ्रॉम बीइंग अ साइंस स्टूडेंट हु वांटेड टू डू आर्किटेक्चर एज अ कोर्स एंड एंडेड अप बीइंग इन लॉ, एंड देन टैक्स में आप जा रहे हैं, आपने सीए नहीं किया, सीएस नहीं किया। तो ये मेरा सवाल है आपसे कि क्या सीए और सीएस करना मैंडेटरी है टू बी अ सक्सेसफुल टैक्स लॉयर? पहला सवाल तो ये। दूसरा, कई बार मैं देखता हूँ आजकल के बच्चे साथ में लॉ की पढ़ाई के सीएस तो कर ही रहे हैं, सीए भी हो सकता है कुछ कर लेते हैं, सीए भी नहीं करते हैं, तो क्या उसको पढ़ने से कुछ फर्क पड़ता है? आई पर्सनली नो कि पढ़ाई कभी व्यर्थ नहीं जाती, बट व्हाट इज योर टेक ऑन दैट?
See, the CA basic accountancy is a must. I didn't have that. So, again, my formative years at Vaish were very important. Some of the names that I took, Mr. Rohit Jain, Mr. Rupesh Jain, were instrumental in me looking at the accounting aspects. They knew that, I would pick up the law quickly. And I think, so all the questioning which used to happen to me was only on accounting. And I had, some very good immediate seniors. I remember there was one Mr. Vishal Kalra, who's now a partner with Deloitte, who would actually take time to help me understand accountancy. So also Mr. Rohit Jain. I think these were people who literally taught me basic accountancy to be able to answer a question in court. And although I thought at that point of time that Mr. Vora was pulling my leg, but even when I went to brief him, he would only ask me accounting questions. He would never ask me a legal question. And then I had to go back, I had to look, and I had to ask. And, I really learned a lot from them. So therefore, anybody wanting to do tax, yes, basic accountancy knowledge is a must, I would say. Although if you have great seniors like I had, you could probably pick it up on the trade, but it will take some more time. If you have basic accountancy, it will be easier for you. But one thing, one of my seniors told me, and I don't want to quote him for some reasons, is that ultimately a lawyer interprets the Income Tax Act the best, because it's a question of interpretation of a statute. It is not a question of adding up numbers. So if you are confident that you can, and nobody, can interpret law better than a lawyer who's done all the laws, who's studied all the laws, who studied environmental law, who studied interpretation of statute, who knows the Constitution, the basic fundamental principles of Constitution, somebody who knows administrative law. One of the things which happens today is a lot of hoo-halla is made about whether X officer versus a Y officer passed the order and how does it make an order void. It's a question of administrative law. Accountants don't understand that, but that's a basic jurisdictional issue for us. So I think those things only a lawyer will pick up. So if you have basic accountancy knowledge, I think a lawyer is far more equipped to interpret the law than an accountant. I have no disrespect for accountants. I think they contribute a lot to the tax practice. But I think you need to have, and I firmly believe that anybody practicing tax must have done a full-time law course and not a correspondence law course. Nobody without a full degree of law should be allowed to practice even income tax. Although our Income Tax Act allows accountants to practice even up till the stage of the tax tribunal, I believe there was a different purpose for that. So unless you are a fully qualified lawyer, you should not be allowed to practice, because there are certain things you can't pick up as an accountant, to be fair to them, because those are not taught. I mean, nobody taught you administrative law. Nobody teaches you interpretation of statutes. Nobody shows you how many statutes are there in the world or in the Indian context which use a similar expression. Like PMLA uses expressions which are borrowed from the Income Tax Act. And if somebody's done that income tax law practice, will understand those expressions and what they mean. So I think those are things which really, help as a lawyer to grow. But to your point, yes, I think basic accountancy does help. But again, I reiterate that you have to love the profession. You may be only a lawyer, you may be a CA lawyer, you may be a CS lawyer, you may be a cost accountant, CS lawyer. You have to love the subject. If you don't, you can't practice the subject.
Very well put, Harshit. एक बात आपने और अच्छी उठाई कि लॉ स्कूल में डिटेल्स में इनमें से बहुत कम चीजें पढ़ाई जाती हैं, which even I feel are not attuned to the demands of the profession. Sometimes I personally think, and that's only my personal view, that I think 5 years is too long a course for a law student to undergo and then start contributing to the profession. मैं समझता हूँ कि 1-2 साल की आप बेसिक पढ़ाई कराएं और फिर आप बच्चों को कहते हैं कि आप 1 या 2 साल की कंपल्सरी इंटर्नशिप शुरू कर दें. जैसे आप MBBS में भी देखते हैं कि फाइनल ईयर में 1 साल लोग पूरा अपना internship करते हैं. I think that way it will be a little more fruitful and productive for a lot of law students, to be contributing early and a lot more understanding हो जाती है. दूसरा मेरा आपसे ये सवाल है कि जब आपने शुरू की, क्योंकि इतने आप ट्राइब्यूनल्स देखे आपने हमारे देश पर, दुनिया भर के, और आप कोर्ट्स, हाई कोर्ट्स बहुत सारे आप रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में आर्ग्यू करते हैं, तो जो ट्राइब्यूनल है, ये जो टैक्स के स्पेशली, एक तो आपका क्या व्यू है ट्राइब्यूनल्स को लेकर? डू यू थिंक, बिकॉज कई बार मैं देखता हूँ कि इतना सारा हमारा ट्राइब्यूनलाइजेशन है इस देश में, अगर हम ट्राइब्यूनल्स रिड्यूस करके उसके एवज में कोर्ट रूम, रेगुलर कोर्ट रूम स्ट्रक्चर खड़ा कर दें हाई कोर्ट्स में या डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट में, would that help, or do you think tribunals are still a necessary evil to be subsisting in the society?
Look, I believe that so long as the tribunals are specialist tribunals with specialist members, they have a lot to contribute. If you make tribunals an appointment body for retired judges, post-retirement jobs, or for bureaucrats, or don't appoint specialist judges. Now, you can't have, for example, you can't have a person, a lawyer who's never practiced law, tax law, who sat as a judge in a high court or even Supreme Court, but has never really sat on a tax roster and decided at least 500 tax matters, to come and become the chairman of the authority for advanced ruling. Now that body is abolished, but we had, you can't have that thing that for post-retirement, I'll send you there, maybe you never picked up an income tax act. So really, if you remove those two ills, I think tribunals have a lot to contribute. I personally have seen some of the decisions from the tribunals, and this is income tax tribunal, is called the Mother Tribunal. It was set up in 1962. It's the oldest tribunal in India. And the quality of judgments or orders which used to come from the tax tribunal, some of them are still very good, were exceptional. But today, a lot of people who are appointed to the tax tribunal also have never practiced tax in their lives. So how do you expect them? And it's a specialized field. Like I said, you need to really love the subject. So if a lawyer needs to love a subject, even the judge needs to love a subject. He can't be doing a desk job for the heck of it. You really need to find people who are interested in doing that job. So you make it lucrative, make it exciting for them. Look at today, if you look at the tax tribunal in Delhi, it's in shambles. I mean, it's unbelievable that where we practice, where I would say 20-25% of the tax dispute money of the country is in that tax tribunal, where there is not even a proper file management system. There is no place. There are shortage of stenos for judges. So really, it's a pity. It's a mother tribunal. Have some respect for that. So, to cut the long story short, I have a lot of grudges there, but if you have specialist judges manning specialist tribunals, they can contribute a lot. And independent of the government. They can't be subservient to the government. So I think those two parameters, if they are met, I think tribunals have a lot to contribute.
अच्छी बात आपने बताई सचित, should not be subservient to the government. However, the problem is that appointments are by the government. Second, I think जो एक judicial infrastructure which is lacking, I think in the country by and large, is because of not having enough budget being allocated to the judiciary. इस पे आपका क्या कहना है, मतलब how can this problem be addressed? Because देखिए जितने judges को हम और आप जानते हैं are very hard working people. They are extremely either understaffed and overworked. और स्टाफ के ऊपर भी है ना, जाहिर सी बात है कि बड़ी जिम्मेदारी होती है, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव वर्क है, जुडिशियल वर्क है, अपने पर्सनल काम होते हैं लोगों के, घंटे 24 ही सबके पास. तो व्हाट इज योर टेक ऑन दैट, मतलब कैसे इसको हम सॉल्व कर सकते हैं इस प्रॉब्लम?
Look, that is a perennial problem, and I'm not, whether it's this government or the earlier government, no government wants a strong judiciary because that undermines their setup. So, and then there'll be checks and balances. Nobody would want an independent, strong judiciary. I think to that extent, I think the collegium system, although it has its own flaws, has at least slightly insulated the courts, or at least till some extent insulated the courts from the from the executive. The only other way, I think, which can be done is that the appointments to any tribunal now going forward, and I think that's something which needs to be worked on, should not be made by the government. The appointments could be made and should be made on the basis, on an objective criteria of qualification and number of matters done. Today, you are looking at judges who are going to man specialist tribunals. So therefore, fix a criteria that XYZ lawyer who's practiced at least 10 years in this field and has at least 20 or 30 reported orders in a year must be considered eligible. Nobody else is considered eligible. That's going to shaft out a lot of unnecessary people in the system who are only there to please somebody. And the government interference or that subjectiveness will also go away. Second is make it a fixed tenure. In fact, the government is doing completely opposite. They are today making it completely dependent on the government. I feel that it should be a fixed tenure.
Very well.
So I think those two things are very important.
Nice pointers. In fact, a lot to be thought about, because this definitely requires a wider debate and an immediate debate. And you are right. It's not just about one government in power. We have been independent for more than 70 years now, and radical changes are required. For a robust judiciary, nothing for the sake of politicians or for the government in power, but also for the benefit of social good and people in general. फटाफट 2-3 सवाल आपसे और करता हूँ, because I know I'm taking a lot of your billable hours, working week है. अगला सवाल मेरा ये है आपसे, आपने DMD ज्वाइन की, आपने वहाँ के कुछ एक्सपीरियंसेस के बारे में बताया. So how was the transition from being associate then becoming to a partner, and which phase of your life have you found to be most stressful as a young lawyer? Is it more stressing? या जब आप पार्टनर बन जाते हो और आपको अपनी टीम मैन करनी होती है and you are a little more answerable to the client, is that phase more strenuous?
Surely the latter part. I mean, at the end of the day, even as a young lawyer, I could easily, and we all have these ways, I could hold on to the draft till about 9:30 at night and then email it to my boss. Or after he left, kept it at his desk and then ran away for a party. And then wait for him to do whatever he wanted to do and then come back in the morning. We've all done that. And I think in that sense, I would really think that those were easier times. Today, I'm the one who's on the receiving end. So I know what people are doing, but I don't say anything. So I let them have their party while I could be working, 16, 18 hours a day. I honestly, I enjoy working, even if you were to make me work 7 days a week. But the work is interesting. It keeps me going. I never get bored of work, to be honest, or I never get tired of work. There may be some fatigue where I have to do a lot more other things apart from just work. Honestly, The only thing which I don't like is this whole thing of, billing, recovery, and running after clients. I think there must be some set system in place where if I have done the work, I need to be compensated. I think maybe now law firms must also start looking at insuring their bills, because it eats up a lot of your invaluable time. It creates unnecessary skirmishes, which can be avoided. So, that's just a thought in my mind that if I could cut that part out, I could be a lot more productive. In fact, I've realized that ever since work from home has started because of COVID, although I hope it gets over, but the productivity has gone up. At least for me, it's gone up many folds. The reason for that is today I'm not worried about my kids and my family at home. I can take a 5-minute break, walk, check what my kids are doing, and what my family, my wife, if she needs any help, I'm there. Secondly, I can maneuver my time now. I can sleep in the evening for about 2 hours and then work through the night. I have no difficulty. Although I try to maintain a schedule and I don't work beyond a certain point, but at least that is within my control now. But if you are in the office, you don't want your staff to be sitting till late. I mean, it's a task on them also. So you would want to leave them, let them go. So everything is concentrated in those, 8-10 hours in the office. Now I can spread my work around. I mean, that I have that flexibility of things which I have to do, I can do even at 2 o'clock in the morning. So that's how I look at it. Yeah.
Good. आपने बड़ी अच्छी पार्टी की बात रखी. I know that you are a party person. You have a very active social life.
I used to
active work life also. पर ये जो आपने अच्छी बात बताई कि मैं impediment नहीं बनना चाहता अपने associates के, अपने staff के. Let them party, but let them also work hard. That's a very good thing. I think the second takeaway, for our viewers and listeners would be कि हर बड़ी firm में billable hours का, because you as a partner have 100 other things to focus on, especially as you progress in your career, you have to also think about jurisprudence and evolving jurisprudence and assisting the court in multifarious matters. तो उसमें वो जो एक जो बहुमूल्य समय आपने बताया, इनवैल्यूएबल जो टाइम है, अगर आप एक क्लाइंट के साथ जा रहे हैं, कहीं ना कहीं खटास हो सकता है रिश्तों में आ जाए, क्योंकि बोलेंगे यार देखो सचिन, वी आर गुड क्लाइंट, वी हैव अ रिलेशन विद यू. तो वो सारी चीजें मैं समझता हूँ एक पीआर एजेंसी या एक एचआर पर्सन को सौंप देनी चाहिए. आपने सही कहा, अगर नहीं है तो
I'm just saying maybe law firms should get insurance on the bills there is.
Yeah.
Maybe today, see what is happening, and it's a very interesting field which is developing now. We have a lot of fight with the tax department on an issue when I make a remittance outside India, whether tax is deductible or जो TDS जिसको हम कहते हैं उस पे. And the tax department has been agitating a lot on that issue, and it's going on for ages. It started with that Vodafone matter, but it's been going on now for a long time. So a lot of insurance companies, at least outside India now, have started insuring payments. That if there is a tax dispute, we will cover the insurance, we will cover the cost for that. I think it may be time where, even law firms look at that why shouldn't I insure my bills if I don't get a recovery from the client for X amount of time? The insurance company will pay me. They may then seek recovery from the client whichever way they want to do.
जी, आपने बड़ा अच्छा पॉइंट रखा है, because जी, even I am aware some of my friends in UK are working in this litigation hedge funds. वहाँ पे अभी ये कॉन्सेप्ट शुरू हो गया है लिटिगेशन हेज फंडिंग का, जैसे कि नॉर्मल इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग में होता है, पर आई डोंट थिंक अभी इंडिया में इतना ये प्रेवलेंट है कि नहीं है, इस पे कुछ काम किया जा रहा है कि नहीं. आपने बताया इट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक on which the system must think about. My next question is, because you're literally hammer and tongs against the system. आप ट्राइब्यूनल में जाते हैं, आप गवर्नमेंट के अगेंस्ट हैं. In your opinion, can litigations be reduced if the government or the department are a little more sensible in terms of putting so many people or sending so many notices to people or companies? क्या तरीका है litigation कम करने का, tax litigation कम करने का आपके हिसाब से? कैसे हम इस पे work कर सकते हैं?
Well, I have said this in a number of debates. The only way to reduce tax litigation is that you remove targets on tax officials. Today, problem is there are targets on tax officials, their promotions depend on it. Till the time you remove that system, or at least introduce a counter check to say that if an officer raises an absurd demand, that will also count towards his negative ACR. Litigation will never end in tax. Because if you're telling a man that his recovery will decide his promotion, he's going to make the demand. Why does how does he care about who you are? So he's going to throw that notice to you. He's going to raise an absurd demand, even though he may know that's wrong. He's going to recover from you. Unless you remove that system. It has not changed in 70 years. I don't know how it will change. But unless you change that, you may introduce whatever measures. Like we've had this direct tax Vivad se Vishwas scheme. We've had, the other amnesty schemes in the indirect tax set up earlier. Sabka Vikas legacy was that. Then we've had amnesty schemes all throughout, but it has not helped. There are circulars now fixing monetary limits on what department can file appeals. None of that has helped. The singular reason is that it will only clear the backlog till that point of time. Going forward, unless you change the system, it's going to again mount up. And even in this so-called settlement scheme, it's called Vivad se Vishwas. Now look at the Vishwas the government is developing, some of the commissioners. The law says that if an issue is settled in my favor, I pay 50%. If the issue is decided against me or it's open, then I pay 100%. Now within that, the government doesn't agree to, the commissioners are not agreeing to decisions of High Court saying they are not passed in your case. It is passed in some other taxpayer's case, but it applies to you. They don't give me the 50% benefit. They also don't give me a 50% benefit if it's the case if it's decided in my own case, but by a different High Court. Now, this is not building any Vishwas according to me. And all this is happening for the simple reason that if you apply the 50% rule, the collections go down. If you apply the 100% rule, the collections go up. That is the only criteria. Nobody is looking at, are we solving a dispute? What is the purpose of the scheme? What are we trying to achieve? None of that is happening. It is all a question of money. So unless we get over that system, I don't see tax litigation reducing in this country. And quite frankly, I've now stopped saying anything to anybody because it helps me grow my litigation practice. If they don't want to understand, they don't care about the country. I mean, I'm not a person in power. I'm not supposed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, as a lawyer, we are the mouthpieces of our clients. भाई है litigation तो करनी है. You're right. But इससे मेरा एक और सवाल निकल के आता है कि आप जो लिटिगेशन करते भी हैं उससे कहीं ना कहीं आप एक लीगल अवेयरनेस भी क्रिएट करें, क्योंकि जजमेंट्स आते हैं, ऑर्डर्स आते हैं. जो जजमेंट्स ऑर्डर्स आते हैं उससे हम लीगल अवेयरनेस कैसे क्रिएट करें, ये मेरा सवाल आपसे इसलिए है क्योंकि आपने इतनी सारी लिटिगेशंस की हैं, इतने सारे ऑर्डर्स आते हैं, जो आम जनता है उस तक हम वो अवेयरनेस कैसे पहुंचे, स्पेशली जो टैक्स की जो अवेयरनेस होती है कि देखिए ये है, क्योंकि देखिए सरकार जो है, चाहे स्टेट की हो चाहे सेंटर की हो, उसके पास सारे संसाधन हैं, सारी तकनीकें हैं लोगों तक अपनी बात पहुंचाने की. पर जब मैं टैक्स अवेयरनेस की बात करता हूँ और इतने जैसे वकील हैं हमारे भाई बंधु हैं जो कोर्ट में जा रहे हैं, हर दिन केसेस जीत रहे हैं, अच्छे अच्छे उसमें जूरिस्प्रूडेंस इवॉल्व कर रही है, पर स्कूल गोइंग बच्चों को या उनके माँ बाप को या बाकी लोगों को जो नॉन लिटिगेंट हैं पर आर स्टिल द टैक्स पेयर इन दिस कंट्री, आर स्टिल समवेयर इन्वॉल्व्ड इन द टैक्स डायनामिक्स मैकेनिज्म ऑफ दिस कंट्री, उन तक हम अवेयरनेस कैसे क्रिएट कर सकते हैं? थोड़ी, चाहे वो 10% हो 20% हो, तो उसके लिए मुहिम हम कैसे जारी करें अगर करना हो?
Jayant, I think I honestly don't have an answer for that readily available for you, but I have a slightly different take on this. Like I told you, a tax officer is not going to leave an issue unless you win from a court. So even spreading awareness about rights, because even there are rights when you get searched, when जिसको हम आम भाषा में रेड कहते हैं, अगर आपके ऊपर रेड भी हो, इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट के खुद के कुछ पैरामीटर्स हैं कि these are the rights of taxpayers, but none of them are in effect given to the taxpayer. There is in fact a reported judgment of the Delhi High Court in L.R. Gupta, late L.R. Gupta, जो very senior lawyer he was. Gupta ji के matter में judgment है that a lawyer who was getting raided at that point of time will be allowed to go to court and practice, the raid can continue. Now today on ground, you can tell me if there is a raid, any tax official will let you go out. They don't let you sleep. They trouble you, they question you. So there is, there are rights, they're always there. I'm happy to propagate them. Whether you can claim them in practice, the answer is no. So, you will have to go to a court. Unfortunately, that's our system. That we don't have a responsible bureaucracy, we don't have a responsible revenue service. And all again boils down to the same thing. Because when they go and raid you, when they raise demands on you, they are trying to look at their promotions. It's their interest versus yours. Unless you cure that major defect, you may create any number of rights, you may create any number of awareness of these rights. Nobody's going to follow it. You'll have to go to a court and get it enforced. I've seen that on ground with my own people, of my own distant cousins and all. I've seen that. Even with my wherewithal, I've not been able to stop an official. They run amok. I know somebody, it's shameful. A husband and wife tax officials occupied a person's room and shut them inside up. I mean, these are things which are unbelievable. But, what can you do? You go to court, fight it out. Or as Justice Nariman in his recent judgment now said, videograph all these proceedings today. That is the solution. Videograph all proceedings. But that is only for raids.
तो रेड में फोन बोलेंगे, आप फोन नहीं छू सकते, वो अलग परेशानी है.
Jayant, I'm telling you, a client of mine, they have CCTV cameras in their house. What business does the tax department have to chop off the wires? They can't do it. Legally, they can't do it, but they do it. Now, what do? You challenge that in court. But once the CCTV footage is cut, what will you achieve? Compensation for cut wires.
At best,
yeah. So, I mean, unfortunately, we have to cut at we have to go to the root cause of the problem and nip it in the bud.
Very right, Sajid. And एक बड़ी अच्छी बात तो मैं समझता हूँ निकल के आती है, जो स्वार्थ है किसी भी इंसान का, स्पेशली अगर आप ब्यूरोक्रेसी में हैं या आप गवर्नमेंट में हैं, वर्सेस समाज कल्याण. तो ये बड़ा सीरियस मुद्दा है कि selfishness versus societal interest is always at stake. So what is more important? And courts time and again, you also rightly pointed out Justice Nariman's judgment कि court can only do so much. और court तब हरकत में आता है जब ये चीजें हो चुकी होती हैं. Unfortunately, रेड पड़ चुकी है, लोगों को तंग या त्रस्त किया जा चुका है, लोग परेशान हैं, फिर जाके किसी वकील के पास आते हैं, फिर हम केस बनाते हैं, केस जाके हम उसकी जिरह करते हैं कोर्ट में. तो रूट तक जाना बहुत, और बार बार कोर्ट और वकील मिलके हम रूट तक पहुंचते हैं, जूरिस्प्रूडेंस इवॉल्व करते हैं, चोट पहुंचाते हैं, लेकिन कई बार जो असली जो उसकी चोट लगनी चाहिए, जो वार होना चाहिए, उसमें कहीं ना कहीं जो मैं समझता हूँ जो एक ये स्तंभ है हमारे समाज का, जिसको हम ब्यूरोक्रेसी एग्जीक्यूटिव कहते हैं या सरकार कहते हैं, उसमें निराशा हम लोग के हाथ लगती है. बहरहाल आखिरी के पेनल्टीमेट सवाल आपसे करता हूँ सचित. संक्रमण का दौर है और हमने जो एक चीज देखी है पिछले साल से इस साल तक, वो है कि वर्चुअल हियरिंग्स कोर्ट ने काफी अच्छे ढंग से अडॉप्ट की हैं, ट्राइब्यूनल्स में आई हैं, और इससे काफी लोगों को की परेशानी कम हुई है. मैं समझता हूँ कि द प्रोफेशन हैज वंडरफुली अडॉप्टेड टू वर्चुअल हियरिंग्स. काफी हद तक आप घर में बैठे बैठे आज देश दुनिया में अपना केसेस लड़ सकते हैं. एक इस पे आपका क्या विचार है? एंड डू यू थिंक, क्योंकि बीच में कोर्ट्स खुल गए थे बिफोर द सेकंड वेव हिट अस, और आई डोंट नो कि क्या एजेंडा था क्या नहीं था, लेकिन थोड़ी सी प्रोटेस्ट भी रही. एक वकील तबके की, दूसरा वकील तबके ने कहा कि आप नहीं खोलिए, लोग सफर कर रहे हैं. तो गोइंग फॉरवर्ड आपको क्या लगता है कि वर्चुअल हियरिंग्स आर हियर टू स्टे, डिजिटाइजेशन इज हियर टू स्टे? अगले 5-10 सालों में क्या तब्दीली आएगी? आर वी ऑल गोइंग टू बी सिटिंग एंड वर्किंग फ्रॉम होम, और इज इट गोइंग टू बी अ हाइब्रिड मॉडल अबाउट इट?
Well, let me first give you a disclaimer. I was one of the petitioners who opposed the opening of the courts physically in this pandemic. That's one question, that what happens in the pandemic. In the pandemic, according to me, you cannot and should not force anybody to come out. It's a matter of life and death. It's a matter of one lawyer's right to practice over another lawyer's right to practice. You can't choose, you can't pick choice. And this is not a question of raise your hands, how many people, or majoritarianism or populism in that sense. This is a question of each person's right to practice, having feelings, the safety of practicing well. So if I don't want to go to court, you can't force me to go to court. But equally, you can't take away my right to practice. So therefore, in my respectful view, a hybrid system in the pandemic is the solution. And that too, when it is conducive. Like at this point of time, you can't even have a hybrid. You can't have a hybrid. Courts will have, and have rightly said, you're going to shut it down. We want to save our people also. And look at what has happened. In this clamor for opening the courts, we've lost 2 judges of our lower judiciary in Delhi alone. Yesterday, we heard that in UP, 700 teachers have lost their lives while carrying out local Gram Panchayat elections. Now, if this is the cost we have to pay for opening courts and conducting elections, I don't think it's worth it. Even one person's life lost is a lot. So according to me, and at least in Delhi, at least I can say, or for that matter, I have now in this pandemic appeared in Karnataka, in Chennai, in Odisha. I've appeared in Calcutta virtually. Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, Mumbai, all courts have fantastic infrastructure for IT. So therefore, let's use that. Let's not go back. And one more interesting aspect, and I think people have very short vision in our country. Prior to March 2020, if you go back, there was a clamor for digitization. There was a clamor for digital courts. I don't know what pandemic has done that we want to reopen. I mean, I've completely lost logic to that. In fact, in our tax tribunal, and I feel proud of that we had opened virtual courts way back in 2019. So we had circuit benches in order to make justice available to everybody and anybody in remotest of areas. There used to be a circuit virtual court for Surat, Rajkot, things like that. We did a lot. Let's build on that. We can't be going back. Let's at least have the infrastructure. And I think it's going to only increase productivity. It's going to save a lot of time which we spend and waste in court waiting for our matter. So I think let us make use of technology. Yes, if somebody is ill-equipped to use technology and does not have the wherewithal, then it is the duty of the bar councils to ensure that. Look, the bar councils have a lot of corpus. Why can't they start, according to me, an educational program for teaching elderly or people who don't know how to use a computer? That will not only save them the problem of coming to a court, but even their routine work like bank work, online payment of bills, they will not have to run to offices to pay all of that. It's going to help them in a larger perspective. It's going to reduce pollution in the city. Cars will not go out. Secondly, for people who do not have the wherewithal today to buy a laptop or internet connectivity, again, the bar councils, local bar associations of courts can step in. Why can't we create 25 kiosks in each court complex for people who do not have a wherewithal in the house? I mean, of course, we can't provide internet connectivity and laptop to every lawyer. I think that's not feasible. But why can't we create, let's say, 25 or 50 kiosks in each court complex? It's not going to cost much. You can take it on rent also. These are things which the bar councils today need to look at. These are innovatives of solving a problem today. But there can't be a clamor of opening the courts. And look what has happened. There's a clamor for opening courts and people have died. Now, who takes the blame for that? Does the bar council take the blood on their hands? It is there. It is actually there on their hands today. They are answerable for this. So instead of actually training people, when the pandemic was down, there were less cases. That was the time you taught people, you trained them to use laptops and computers. That was the time you set up kiosks for computers and internet connectivity in the bar council offices, or for that matter, in the court complexes, and solve this problem of people who don't have the resources.
Very well said, Sajid. A lot many points to ponder upon, and very very thoughtfully put across. तो हम ऑलमोस्ट सेशन के एंड में आ गए हैं. सेशन के एंड में एक परंपरागत हम एक कमेंट या फीडबैक मांगते हैं अपने मेहमानों से, हमारे यंग दर्शकों के लिए. आप कुछ कहें, कुछ आपने ऑलरेडी इतनी सारी बातें बताई, पर उनके लिए एक पॉजिटिव नोट आप अपने एक्सपीरियंस से शेयर करें. क्योंकि जब मैं यंग कहता हूँ तो यंग से मेरा मतलब सिर्फ यूथ से नहीं है, मेरा मतलब यंग एट माइंड एंड यंग एट हार्ट से भी है. तो आपकी कुछ क्लोजिंग कमेंट, क्लोजिंग रिमार्क्स और टिप्पणी प्लीज हमारे दर्शकों को.
First of all, stay safe, stay indoors. Only you can save yourself, nobody else can. That's very important in these times. And this too shall pass. It's a matter of, even if it's a matter of another year, 2 years in a lifespan of 70 years will not change anything. You can cover up that time. If you put in the work that is required, which is there at the end of these 2 years, it will be fine. I think you will get over this. Don't be worried about these 2 years. It's not going to change much. Secondly, in terms of work, keep your head grounded. Very important. Even if you achieve success early, keep your head grounded. Do not start flying high. Concentrate on the basics which you can do, and don't try and do what you can't do. Like I said, be sure of your facts. Law will come on its own. Try and learn and pick up from experiences, not just reading and writing, from experiences. Be vigilant, be agile, be attentive on what is happening around you. In courts, often anecdotes about your real life story help you ease out in a difficult case position. Please be aware of what is happening around you. Law is not just about reading the act. Law is also about humanity. It is about enforcing what is there in the society and making a change to the society. So therefore, be aware. And finally, in this profession, at least in tax, there is no substitute. And I'm not saying it in a cliched manner. There is no substitute of hard work. Even after now 14 years of practice, which I'm completing, I still have to work 16 to 18 hours a day at times, and weeks together. There have been times, even in the pandemic, I worked 18 hours a day for 3 weeks together. It takes a toll, but the satisfaction of having done something for the profession, for developing jurisprudence, like Jan said, it's not about only winning. I'm not a mouthpiece of my client. I'm also somewhere responsible to the court. So I think if you keep those basics in mind, those old cliches do actually work in the profession. Keep your head down, keep working hard, keep doing the basics well, and learn from your mistakes. Don't repeat that mistake again. That's going to hold you in great stead.
थैंक यू सचित, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका. आपने इतनी बढ़िया बढ़िया बातें की, पॉजिटिव बातें रखी हमारे दर्शकों तक. और सेशन को समाप्त करने से पहले हम हमेशा अपने दर्शकों से एक अपील करते हैं कि अगर आपको हमारी मुहिम समझ आती हो और इस चैनल के जरिए आपको लगता है कुछ पॉजिटिविटी, कुछ लीगल बातें, कुछ सोशल गुड की बातें आप तक पहुंची हैं, तो हमारी मदद करें और इसको और लोगों तक पहुंचाएं. उसका सबसे सरल तरीका, हमारे चैनल को लाइक करें, शेयर करें और सब्सक्राइब करें. एंड अंटिल नेक्स्ट टाइम, सी यू सून. थैंक यू सो मच सचिन. थैंक यू.